I'm in Arizona, 16 days out from Election Day. I came here to see what the campaign looks like on the ground in this crucial swing state. In conversation with 6 Arizona voters from across the political divide, I learned one thing that's on all of their minds: the darkness and cruelty of our politics today. Here's part of my conversation with a bipartisan group of Arizona voters who are trying to find a way to come together as a community. You were talking about one of the things that's bothering you, and we've all sort of mentioned it, the lack of civility and the lengths to which you are still surprised at where we've gone in politics. And that is something that is going on in your state as well. You've got some people running for office or elected, and they go somewhere that we're not used to seeing.
That's right. We're seeing candidates try to out-bombast each other, so to speak. I mean, it used to be more civil, and you can talk to people of differing minds, and it was an easy conversation to have. And now, not just with candidates, but with neighbors and friends and family, everything seems more tight, more ready to wound up, so to speak.
It's a difficult thing to reconcile, especially with friends, especially with family. How can the divide be that far with people that you care about or people who have similar background? And honestly, I don't have an answer. I wish I did. And if I did, I'd write the book and probably do well with it. But I feel like there is such a run to a tribalized corner on everything. And in some places, it's almost become like sporting fandom, where people can't even articulate necessarily why they're holding the views that they're holding, but it's go red team, go blue team, and we're going to run to where our side is at, even if we don't really have an understanding of the topic at hand. It's very frustrating when you're trying to talk with someone who clearly doesn't have the context.
I think that that's a lot of what gets lost in this election is the civility, and I think that that's what we forget about in election season, is that really, after it's over, we're all still part of the same community. And so are we voting for things that are going to help our community? Are we voting for things that are going to better our country? Are we going to vote for things that are going to help us be, just a better society altogether? Are we trying to up one another and other each other? What is it really going to be? And I think part of that is, I think we have more in common. And I think with each other, even if we are registered as different parties, we have more in common with each other as humans.
I feel like you're right. We would go back after an election, and we would be neighbors. And it just seems so impossible now because of that division and that polarization. And I feel like Arizona even lays claim to some of that, because I feel like the cruelty is the point that sort of became a prevalent movement when we had Joe Arpaio making worldwide headlines about his cruelty here. And what he saw is that people started looking at him and sending him money, and he started getting more clout, and he started getting hits on all these different shows. And so I feel like that's what everybody does now. Everyone is like, the more outrageous I can be, the more people that I can other, the more cruelty that I can inflict, the more pain that I can apply, the more attention I'm going to get, the more donations I'm going to get, the more someone's going to throw me on Fox News or Breitbart. And that's just what it's become. It's just become like an attention economy and a cruelty economy.
You mentioned Joe Arpaio, so Adelea, let's talk about that. Immigration is an issue in this state. It's an issue. And I actually think that sometimes in this state people understand the complexity of this issue more than they do in Washington or in political circles. What's your sense of what success should look like for the people in this country for whom immigration, for better or for worse, is their main issue?
So obviously, securing the border has been the big conversation topic for decades at this point. When you live in Arizona, the conversation of immigration is just so common. You do have people who live 20 minutes, it's down the road for them. There's so many people in your neighborhood, like we keep talking about, your community, that are immigrants, that are children of immigrants. This country is built on that. So the rhetoric that we have been seeing that every single person that's just not a native-born American is evil has been very dangerous. And some people in Washington, D.C., the states that will never, ever see, an actual border in their life, they just hear what they see in the media and they think that's what they're going to roll with for the rest of their life. But when you're actually in the country and you're in the state, you understand it's so much more complex. There are so many people I know personally in my life that are immigrants and have contributed so much to this country. And honestly, to those people on the East Coast, north side of the country, they need to understand that at the end of it, it's not just numbers, it's real people behind those numbers.
Ronald Reagan famously granted amnesty for people who were here illegally in the 1980s. Today, what would the base of the party say about that? They wouldn't be in favor of it. There's a famous clip circulating the internet now of George H.W. Bush and Ronald Reagan speaking at a debate, and a question of illegal immigration comes up, and they both gave such a response that not just included solution, but also talk about the family component of it and how it affects people.
The fact of the matter is, on any of these complex issues, we can hold two truths. Why are we a society of having to be right and absolute? I don't know when we ever got there of being absolute about any of these complex issues. So we can hold the two truths that we're able to secure the border, and certainly we need to apply more resources and more technology, right? But we can also be kind and humane to people who are coming here looking for work. And if you talk to most of the industries I know in our home state here, whether it's home building, whether it's farming, we still have quite a bit of agriculture, hotel and hospitality, every single one of those industry titans will tell you we cannot do what we need to do in commerce with just domestic help. We have to have help from someplace else as well. So these layers. So, it's good for our economy to be kind to people, make sure they're trained, and that there's a pathway for them to be good citizens.